My name's Rowan. I'm a freelance electrician in a quiet little town on the outskirts of nowhere special, just the kind of place where the gas station doubles as the local hangout and everyone knows the breakfast specials at the corner diner by heart. I pick up jobs through an app or word of mouth, fixing outlets, rewiring old houses, that sort of thing. A solid week means 6 or 7 calls enough to cover rent on my one-bedroom apartment and chip away at my dream of opening my own repair shop someday. It's not glamorous, but it's mine. I like working with my hands, hunting down what's broken, setting it right. There's a quiet satisfaction in it, like solving a puzzle no one else even notices. Most days blur together. I roll out of bed, pull on a faded gray t-shirt and jeans, grab my toolbox, and hit the road in my beat-up old Ford pickup. No girlfriend, no roommates, just me and a classic rock playlist that's been looping since high school. I'm not truly alone. Not exactly. But late at night, when the town quiets down to nothing but the hum of the fridge, I wonder if this is all there is. I push those thoughts aside. Dreams don't pay the bills. That morning, my phone buzzed with a job alert from the app. The client reported flickering motion sensor lights in the garage needed a quick fix. The address led to a upscale neighborhood about 20 minutes out. Big houses, manicured lawns, the sort of spot I drive past without a second glance. I accepted the gig, punched in the address on my GPS, and headed off. The sky was clear, the air crisp with that early bite. I cracked the window, let the breeze wake me up. Pulling up to the house, I double-checked the details. It was a sleek, 2-story modern build, all clean lines, floor-to-ceiling windows, and a wide driveway. A glossy black Porsche sat out front, shining like it got waxed daily. This wasn't my usual crowd. Most clients had porch lights that sputtered or outlets that sparked. I parked, grabbed my toolbox, and headed to the garage. The side door was ajar, so I knocked lightly and called out, "Hello? Rowan? Your electrician." A woman stepped out from the shadows. She was in her late 30s, with wavy chestnut hair pulled into a loose ponytail. She wore a fitted black t-shirt, dark jeans, and nothing on her feet, just bare soles on the concrete. Her face was sharp-angled, with eyes that didn't waver. No makeup, but she didn't need it. There was something effortless about her, elegant without trying. "You here for the lights?" she asked, her voice low and straightforward. "Yeah, Rowan. Bet those motion sensors are acting up." She nodded, arms crossed. They go haywire every time a door opens, flashing like a nightclub. Drives me crazy. I followed her into the garage. It was spotless, organized, tools neatly lined on a workbench in the corner, no clutter anywhere. The lights flickered the second I crossed the threshold, a strobing effect that stung my eyes. "Got it," I said, setting down my box. "Likely a short in the sensor wiring. I'll check it out." She didn't hover. She leaned against the wall for a moment, watching me pop open the panel, then slipped back toward the house without another word. No small talk, no questions, just the whir of a fan and the clink of my tools. I appreciated that. Most folks feel the need to fill the silence, but she let me work. It took about 40 minutes. The sensor wires were a mess. Corroded contacts, loose connections. I swapped the bad ones, rerouted the circuit, and tested the lights. They glowed steady now, no more flashes. I packed up, wiped my hands on a rag, and called, "All done." She returned. Same barefoot stride, same calm gaze. "Fixed." "Yeah." "Faulty wiring on the sensors? Good as new." She stepped into the garage, glanced up at the lights, and nodded. "Quick, clean work, nice job." I shrugged, ready to head out. Just doing my thing. She tilted her head slightly, her eyes locking on mine. "Want some tea?" I was just brewing a pot. I blinked, caught off guard. Sure. If it's no trouble." "No trouble," she said, turning toward the house. "Come on in." I hesitated for a beat, toolbox still in hand, then followed. Something about her pulled at me like the tea was just an excuse for more. I stepped inside Sage's place, toolbox dangling, feeling like I'd crossed into another world. The space breathed clean lines and openness. White walls, hardwood floors, a massive window letting sunlight dance across a glass coffee table. A faint lavender scent hung in the air, maybe from a candle flickering somewhere. The kitchen was huge, with a marble island at the center and 2 steaming mugs already waiting. She'd planned this, no doubt. The tea wasn't an afterthought. "Have a seat," she said, nodding to a stool by the island. Her tone wasn't bossy, just matter-of-fact, like she knew people listened. I set my toolbox by the door and slid onto the stool, a little out of place in my work boots and grease-stained jeans. She slid a mug my way. Black tea, no sugar, just a lemon slice floating on top. I wrapped my hands around it, letting the warmth settle my nerves. "I'm Sage," she said, leaning on the counter opposite me. "I do marketing for a fashion brand down in the city, mostly work from home. Keeps me sane." I nodded, took a sip. The tea was bold, pleasantly bitter. "Rowan, electrician, as you can tell. Freelance, so I go wherever the jobs take me." She tilted her head, studying me. "Freelance? That's brave. No boss, no safety net." I shrugged. "No office politics either, just me and the wires." Her lips twitched, not quite a smile. Just, "Do you like it? Fixing things?" "Yeah, it's straightforward. Something's broken, you figure out why, you make it work. No gray areas." She arched a brow. "No gray areas. Lucky you. My world's all shades of it." I didn't know what to say, so I just held her gaze, waiting. She took a sip, eyes drifting to the window. "Marketing's about selling stories, making people want what they don't need. Half the time, I'm convincing myself it's worth it." "Sounds draining," I said, and I meant it. I couldn't picture living in a world of pitches and slides. "It is," she replied, setting her mug down, fingers tracing the rim. "That's why I don't usually invite folks into my kitchen. But you don't seem like you're selling anything." I chuckled softly. "Not much to sell, just a guy with a toolbox. That's enough," she said, and her tone made me pause. It wasn't flirting, not exactly, but it was real, like she saw something in me I hadn't noticed myself. My stomach twisted in a strange way, and I dropped my eyes to the tea to hide it. "So, why invite me?" I asked, lightening the air. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she moved to the fridge, pulled out a small jar of cream, and set it on the island. "Want some?" I shook my head. "I'm good." She added a splash to her mug, stirring slowly. I canceled my 3rd Zoom call of the week. Same blank faces, same recycled ideas. I looked out the window, saw you working in the garage, and thought, he isn't faking it. You were just in you. I needed a break from the noise. I wasn't sure what to make of that. Part of me wanted to crack a joke, ease the tension, but her eyes held mine, raw and unguarded. I swallowed. "Glad I could be your break." Then she laughed a soft, real laugh, the first I'd heard from her. It was light, almost intimate, like she didn't let it out often. "You're not what I expected, Rowan." "And what did you expect?" "Some guy who'd talk my ear off or try to upsell me on a whole new system." She leaned forward a bit, elbows on the counter. "Instead, you're quiet, real." Heat crept up my face. I hoped she didn't notice. "Not big on small talk." "Good," she said. "Small talk's a waste of time." We sat there a while longer, sipping our tea. The silence between us felt easy, but electric, like it was waiting for something to spark. She asked about my work, how I got started, if I had bigger plans. I told her I'd dropped out of community college, always better with tools than textbooks, saving up for my own shop one day. She listened for real, nodding at the right spots, asking questions that didn't feel polite. Then it was my turn. "What about you? Marketing sounds intense. Why stick with it?" She glanced out the window, her face shifting like she was weighing her words. "It pays for this house, and I'm good at it. But sometimes, I wonder if I'm building someone else's dream instead of mine." I had no comeback. I just nodded, letting her words hang. For a second, I glimpsed a crack in her polish, a hint of someone carrying more than she let on. It made me want to know more, ask things I probably shouldn't. Before I could, she straightened, pulling herself together. "You free this weekend?" I blinked, thrown again. Yeah, nothing lined up. "There's a spot I want to show you, out by the coast, not far." She paused, then added, "If that doesn't sound too weird." It did sound weird, but not bad. Something in her made me say yes, even without knowing why. "Not weird. I'm in." She nodded, like it was settled. "I'll text details Friday night." I stood, grabbing my toolbox. "See you then." She walked me to the door, her bare feet silent on the wood floor. "Thanks for the fix, Rowan." And the company. I flashed a smile. Anytime. Climbing into my truck, engine rumbling to life, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. Not just in her kitchen, but inside me. Sage wasn't like anyone I'd met. Sharp, guarded, but real underneath. It made me want to come back. I didn't know what it was yet, but I'd find out this weekend. Friday night, my phone buzzed with a text from Sage. Just an address and a time. 9 in the morning. Dress comfortable. No emojis, no fluff. Classic Sage. Straight to the point. I stared at it longer than I should, wondering what I'd gotten into. Part of me wanted to overthink it. Why would a woman like her invite a guy like me? But I didn't. I replied, "See you then." Done. Saturday morning, I was up early, air sharp and fresh. I threw on a gray hoodie, jeans, and my least worn sneakers. My truck reeked of spilled coffee I hadn't cleaned, but whatever. I drove to the spot, a gas station just off the highway, about half an hour out. Sage was already there, leaning against her black Porsche, sunglasses perched on her head. She wore a loose, white button-up tucked into khakis, a canvas tote over her shoulder. She looked at ease, like she belonged in that morning light. "Morning," she said with a small wave. "Ready?" "For what exactly?" I asked, half smiling. She smirked. "You'll see. Hop in." I paused, then slid into the passenger seat. The car smelled like leather and something sweet, her perfume, maybe. She headed west, toward the coast, radio playing soft indie tracks I didn't know. We didn't talk much at first, letting the road hum beneath us. The quiet wasn't awkward. It felt right, like we were both okay, just being. After about 20 minutes, she turned onto a narrow road winding through pines, ending at a gravel lot by a cliff. Beyond it, the gray, churning ocean, waves crashing on rocky shores. An old lighthouse stood off to the side, paint peeling but proud. She parked, grabbed her tote, and led me down a path to a small cove. It was empty, just the roar of waves and the occasional gull cry overhead. She spread a blanket on a flat rock, unpacked a basket with sandwiches and a thermos of juice, and kicked off her sandals. "This is it," she said, sitting cross-legged, wind tugging at her hair. "My parents brought me here as a kid. I hated it, too boring, too far from everything. Now, it's the only place I can breathe." I sat across from her, the rock cool under my palms. "It's nice, peaceful." She nodded, pouring juice into plastic cups. "Exactly. No emails, no deadlines, no pretending." I took a sip, tart and fresh. "You must do a lot of pretending at work." She stared at the water, her face softening. "All the time. Marketing's a game. Sell the image, not the truth. I'm good at it, but it wears you down. You spend so much time building other people's brands that you forget your own." I didn't know what to say, so I listened. She handed me a sandwich, turkey and avocado. Simple, but good. We ate in quiet for a bit, waves filling the gaps. Then she turned to me. "What about you, Rowan? What's your story? You don't strike me as a guy who fixes wires just for fun." I laughed, surprised. "Not much story. Dropped out of college after a year, couldn't sit still in lectures. Started apprenticing with an electrician. Went freelance a couple years back. I like it. Keeps me moving. Keeps trouble away." She raised a brow. "Trouble?" "Not like that," I said with a grin. "Just, I don't know. Never been good at staying put. Always wanted to build something, you know? Like my own shop. Nothing fancy, just mine." She nodded, like she got it. "That's not nothing. Most people don't even know what they want." I shrugged, picking at my sandwich crust. "And you? You mentioned the noise wearing you out. What's that about?" She leaned back on her hands, eyes on the horizon. "I was married once. Thought it was forever. He thought it was temporary. It's been over for years. No kids, just lessons I didn't ask for." She paused, then added, "I came here to start over, but sometimes it feels like I'm still running." Her voice was steady, but weighted like she was letting me see a locked-away piece. I didn't push. Instead, I said, "This place doesn't feel like running, more like you're finally standing still." She looked at me, eyes sharp but warm. You're observant for a guy who calls himself just a toolbox. I laughed, feeling my cheeks heat. I listen. We kept talking. Her work trips, the snowstorm that stranded her in Paris. That summer, I rewired my uncle's cabin just to prove I could. The words flowed easy, like we'd known each other longer than a few days. I noticed her hands when she gestured quick, precise, and her laugh, softer when she let her guard down. She wasn't just the poised woman from the garage anymore. She was real, layered, someone who'd seen more than she showed. As the sun climbed, she stood, stretching, her shirt lifting just enough to flash a strip of skin. "I don't bring people here," she said, almost to herself. "But I figured you'd get it. You're not like the guys I meet in boardrooms." "Hope that's a good thing," I said, standing too. "It is." She turned to me, face unreadable. "You're real, Rowan. That's rare." I didn't know what to say, throat tight. The air between us hummed, not dramatic, but alive, unspoken, building. She gathered the blanket, shaking off sand. "We should head back soon, but I'm glad you came." "Me too," I said, and I meant it. Packing up, I couldn't shake the sense this wasn't just a day trip. It was the start of something without a name yet. The sun dipped low, streaking the sky over the cove in oranges and pinks. Waves kept their steady crash on the rocks below, the air cooling with that sharp ocean salt. Sage and I had folded the blanket and basket, but neither of us rushed to leave. We stood near the cliff's edge, the old lighthouse looming behind like a silent witness. She'd gone quiet, hands in her pockets, hair whipping in the breeze. I felt a shift like the hush before a storm breaks. We headed back up the path to the car, side by side, gravel crunching underfoot. The silence wasn't heavy, but full, like we both knew there was more to say, but no easy start. Then she stopped, facing the water. "This place always feels like it's holding its breath," she said, voice softer, "like it's waiting for something." I stepped beside her, close enough to feel the warmth of her arm against mine. Waiting for what? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached out, her fingers brushing the back of my hand light, but deliberate. My pulse jumped, and I froze. Not because I didn't want it, but because it felt like leaping off that cliff. "I don't know," she said finally, eyes on the horizon. "But I haven't felt like this in a long time." I turned to her, and she met my gaze. Her eyes were steady, unguarded, like she was letting me see straight through. "Like what?" I asked, my voice lower than I meant. "Alive," she said simply. "Not just playing a part. Not selling someone else's story just here." My throat tightened. I wanted to say something, anything. But my mind blanked, caught between the waves and the way her fingers still grazed mine. She stepped closer, bare feet sure on the uneven ground. "I don't bring anyone here, Rowan," she whispered, voice like a breath. "No one, not like this." "Why me?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. She tilted her head, a small smile tugging her lips. "Because you don't pretend to be someone else. You're just you, and that's enough." Her words hit harder than I expected, stirring that part of me I kept buried, the one that wondered if I measured up, if my life of fixes and shop dreams was worth a damn. I said nothing. Instead, I turned to her fully, and something in me took over. I leaned in slow, giving her time to pull back. She didn't. Her eyes stayed on mine confident. "Sure." And then I kissed her. It wasn't rushed or desperate. It was soft. True, like we were saying what words couldn't. Her lips were warm, tasting of salt and orange juice. She kissed me back, her hand light on my arm, fingers curling into my hoodie. For that moment, the world was just us. The wave crash, the fading light, the quiet truth of it. When we broke apart, neither spoke. She looked at me, softer but still unreadable, like she was piecing it together as much as I was. My heart hammered, thoughts tumbling. She was older, accomplished, from a world miles from my toolbox runs and late-night diner coffee. What was I doing? What was this? I opened my mouth, but she beat me to it. "Don't," she said gently, hand still on my arm. "Don't overthink it. It wasn't to prove anything. It was just us." I nodded, swallowing hard. "Yeah, just us." But walking back to the car, the weight settled in. I wasn't just the guy fixing her lights anymore. And she wasn't just a client offering tea. That kiss had cracked open a door I didn't know was shut. Now I stood on the edge, wondering what came next. Part of me buzzed with it alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. But another part feared the gap. The years, our lives. What if it was a mistake? What if I was just her distraction from video calls and empty faces? She didn't say much on the drive back. The radio played low, some acoustic tune I didn't know. I stole glances, the way her hands gripped the wheel, hair falling over her cheek. She caught me once and smiled a quick flash, enough to quiet the storm in my head. Pulling up to the gas station where I'd left my truck, she turned to me. "Thanks for coming today," she said. "I mean it. Thanks for asking," I replied. Voice steadier than I felt. She nodded, then eyed the windshield. "Let's do it again." "Not here, maybe, but something." I smiled past the lump in my throat. "Yeah, something." I climbed out, keys in hand, and watched her taillights fade into dusk. Firing up my truck, engine vibrating, I realized I could still feel the ghost of her hand in mine. Something had changed that day, and I wasn't sure I could go back to who I was before. The days after the beach felt charged, like the air held a secret hum. I fell back into routine, coffee maker alarm, rattling truck rides to jobs, untangling wires and outlets for strangers. But Sage lingered in my mind. Not just the kiss, though, it replayed more than I'd admit, but the way she'd looked at me, like I was more than a guy with a toolbox. I waited for the spell to break. A missed call, too much silence. But it didn't. We didn't talk daily, that wasn't us. A text here, a quick call there, just enough to keep the thread alive. She'd send a sunset shot from her balcony, no caption. I'd reply with a pic of a tangled breaker. I'd spent an hour sorting, no words needed. It was our way of saying, still here. Neither of us pushed for more. Not yet. It was fragile, like a spark that could flare or fizzle. One Thursday afternoon, I wrapped a dusty attic job, sweat sticking my shirt to my back, when my phone buzzed. Sage's name lit up. "Can you change a kitchen bulb tonight? And maybe stick around?" My heart did that familiar flip the tingle that hadn't quit since the cove. I stared at the words, thumb hovering. Part of me wanted to dwell, her life, her world, the years between us. But I didn't. I typed, "Tonight, I'll be there." I pulled up as the sky turned violet, her porch light casting a warm glow on the driveway. She opened the door before I knocked, in an oversized sweater and jeans, hair loose and a bit messy. "Punctual," she said with a half smile. "Electrician's code," I shot back, holding up my toolbox. "Point me to the bulb." She led me to the kitchen. Same marble island, same sleek lines. The bulb overhead was burned out, casting half the room in shadow. I climbed the stepladder, swapped it in under a minute, and flipped the switch. Light flooded in, bright and steady. "Good as new," I said, stepping down. Sage leaned on the counter, watching me pack. "You make the easy stuff look easy." "It is. Bulbs are basic." She laughed quieter than usual and nodded to a bottle of wine on the island. "Stay for a glass." I nodded, setting my toolbox by the door. She poured 2 reds, handed me one. We sat at the island, silence wrapping around us like that first tea day. But now it wasn't curiosity. It ran deeper, unnamed. "Do you ever think about what this is?" I asked, voice dropping lower than I planned. She swirled her glass, staring into the liquid. "All the time. But I don't try to label it. Labels complicate things." I nodded, sipping. The wine was smooth, fancier than I'd buy. "I'm no good at figuring out what's next." "You don't have to be," she said, eyes meeting mine. "We're just here. That's enough for now." Her words landed simple, but they hit deep. For so long I'd chased something. Shop money, a bigger life than my apartment grind. But sitting across from her, I got it. I didn't have to chase. It was happening, quiet and real, in the pauses between our words. We finished the wine, and I stood to go. She walked me out, her hand brushing mine as she handed over my toolbox. "Thanks for the bulb," she said, "and for staying." "Any time," I replied, and I meant it. Driving home through the dark, still town, I thought back to that first garage job. I'd come to fix a light, but Sage had done more. She'd pried open a door I didn't know was closed, not to some fairy tale romance, but to a feeling I hadn't had in years. Possibility. We weren't a couple, not yet, maybe never. But we were something. And for the first time, I was okay with whatever tomorrow held. As long as she was in it, that was enough. In the everyday corners of life, where days tangle like wires in a forgotten toolbox, sometimes the brightest spark hides. Take me, Rowan, the freelance electrician with grease-blackened hands and a routine-heavy heart in a sleepy town. I fix flickering lights, not for glory, but for that subtle thrill of restoring order to chaos. Then one ordinary job in a pristine garage leads me to Sage, a woman with sharp edges, shaped by marketing's illusions and the scars of a faded love. What starts as a simple short circuit turns into a far stronger current. Two souls, unknowingly reaching to connect. The heart of this isn't Hollywood fireworks, but a deeper lesson woven from shared silences and glances that cut through armor. Life shows us that real bonds often spark from cracks where we dare to be ourselves, no masks, no games. I, in my worn hoodie and modest shop dreams, find in Sage not a perfect muse, but a mirror. She reminds me authenticity is the one light that never flickers. And Sage, trapped in a world of facades, discovers in me the break she's craved, that raw right here that makes the heart beat harder. Haven't we all stared at the horizon like her on that wave-battered cliff, wondering if we're chasing shadows or finally daring to breathe? This lesson shakes us because it's universal. Let go of labels, lean into the unknown, and let unexpected meetings ignite a lasting flame in you. True magic isn't scripted fate, it's the bravery to see each other, truly, amid the daily mess. And if, like Sage and me, you feel that stomach flutter the sign something real is brewing, tell me in the comments, what unexpected connection lit up your world? Share your story, who knows, it might spark another lonely heart. Don't forget to subscribe for more tales that mend the soul, hit that bell, and together, we'll keep wiring our lives to what matters. See you soon for more sparks.